"This ends today?" Claudia Thornhill screamed that right in my face before I'd even swung my legs out of my truck like she'd been rehearsing it all week. I just finished driving 16 hours straight every last mile, leading back to my family's old farmhouse, a place that still felt more like home than anywhere else I'd lived in 40 years. This was the house where my grandfather Hank taught me how to fit a dovetail joint by hand, where my grandma Rose planted wildflowers by the kitchen stoop, where summer evenings always smelled like fresh cut hay and hope. I'd finally scraped up enough to buy the place back after a cousin let it sit empty 3 years, and you'd think that would be the start of a happy story, right? But no, someone must have tipped Claudia off I was coming, because there she was at my gate clipboard, clutched so tight I thought it'd snap, looking like the world owed her something. She had this suit on that probably cost more than my truck hair pulled so tight her eyebrows nearly vanished. "You owe Wom $400 a day in fines starting now." She snapped, eyes all sharp and cold, "for violations that go back months." I didn't even have both boots on the ground yet, and she was already spitting threats about liens and legal action. And let me tell you, at that moment, I had no idea how deep this mess went. I didn't know that just documenting her crazy threats would end up blowing the lid off a $1 million land grab and eventually become the evidence that took her down for good. But let me back up a sec. The first thing that hit me that morning was the light early June sunlight slipping through those old wavy glass panes, throwing gold all over the wide plank pine floors. I stood there in the entryway, dust motes swirling around old wood, creaking under my boots, that green scent drifting in from the wild tangle of garden out back. It's funny how a smell can drag you through time, back to when I was a kid chasing barn cats or standing on tiptoe at Grandpa's workbench. I'd spent 15 years fixing up old Victorians in the city, learned every trick in the book, but this was different. This was blood. This house was built in 1923. 5 acres wrapped around it used to be working farmland, now just an island in a sea of subdivisions that sprouted up like mushrooms after rain. I walked the rooms, ticking off a mental list: original cast iron sink, brick fireplace with a carved mantel, Grandpa's hand-hewn doors upstairs still square after 100 years. Honestly, the place had bones, good ones. It just needed the right kind of care. And I had all my permits, county signed off, historical preservation office gave their blessing, crew ready to go next week. I'd checked and rechecked everything. The deed was clean, signed over to me 3 weeks back. My lawyer buddy Holden Pierce, who's got a mind like a steel trap, went through it line by line. No easements, no weird restrictions, and most importantly, no HOA. I'd asked him 3 separate times about that, because there was no way I wanted to get tangled up in one of those bureaucratic nightmares. Land was mine for $650,000, and the paperwork said so every last page. So imagine how my stomach dropped when I found that flyer stuck to the gate. Plain white paper, but with this big, bold, blood-red header. Community Standards Notice. Looked real official, said my property was subject to Meadowbrook Homeowners Association guidelines, and that any exterior work needed pre-approval from their Architectural Review Committee. There was a website and a phone number, but no signature, no date, nothing you could actually pin down. I must have read it 5 times, checked my phone, checked the deed, even called up the scanned PDF Holden had sent. Nothing. No HOA mentioned anywhere. And that easy, excited feeling I'd had all morning gone, replaced by something cold and heavy right in my chest. The rest of the afternoon vanished into a fog of documentation. I photographed every room, measured every window and door frame, made sure there wouldn't be any. He said. She said about what the place looked like. By sunset, I had more than 200 photos and a notebook full of measurements. Just as I was hauling the last box of tools from my truck to the barn, a black luxury sedan rolled by, slow like they were hunting for an address, windows tinted so dark I couldn't see a thing. They reached the end of the road, turned around, then came back even slower. This time the car stopped right at the edge of my driveway and just sat there. Maybe 10 seconds. I stood there holding a box of hand planes, watching until the car finally rolled off. That barn, my grandpa's old shop, suddenly felt way farther from the house than I remembered. That night I sat on the front porch with a beer and my laptop fireflies starting to blink in the fields. I pulled up the Meadowbrook HOA website. From the flyer looked all slick and official. Lots of stock photos with happy families and perfectly green lawns. Their mission statement was all about preserving community excellence, whatever that means. Board members were listed: Claudia Thornhill right at the top, president. No photos, just names. I opened the architectural guidelines, a 30-page PDF so detailed you'd think they were planning the Pentagon. Everything from what shade of beige you could paint your house to the number of flamingos allowed in your yard. But nowhere, not a single place, did it say which properties the HOA covered. No map, no addresses, nothing. I switched over to the county records database, searching Meadowbrook HOA. Nothing. State HOA registry, nothing. No incorporation docs, no legal filings, nothing official at all. This organization had a pretty website and vapor. Right then I knew I wasn't just dealing with bureaucratic confusion. Something was way off. I called Holden, straight to voicemail. Hey, it's Beckett. Need you to check out something called Meadowbrook HOA. They're claiming jurisdiction over my place, but there's no legal record. Call me back. I hung up, sat there as the sky faded from gold to blue, fireflies doing Morse code out past the garden, and somewhere down the road I heard an engine. I looked up, heart pounding, but it was just a pickup. Old Loud belonged out here. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Inside, I locked the doors, first time I'd ever done that here. The old house creaked and settled as I climbed upstairs into the bedroom I'd slept in as a kid. I lay there in the dark, listening to the house breathe, trying to convince myself this was all just a weird misunderstanding. But that flyer wouldn't leave my mind. That black sedan, that fancy website that didn't connect to anything real. And the worst part, this was supposed to be my home, my heritage. Nobody was taking that from me. But I'll be honest, I had no clue what I was up against. Not yet. That would change fast. By the next morning, any hope I had that this was just some bureaucratic mix-up was blown out of the water. FedEx truck rolled up around 9. Driver hands me this thick envelope return address, printed all fancy Meadowbrook HOA, raised letters like they were trying to sell me a luxury timeshare. I signed for it, tore it open right there on the porch, heart thumping. First page heavy cardstock. More red ink screaming, "Notice of violation." 7 numbered items. Exterior paint not pre-approved. Fence too high. Apparently the 1923 picket fence my great-granddad built is suddenly illegal. Construction materials stored without screening. Guess my lumber pile was now a crime. Commercial vehicle in the driveway, my old work truck, which, by the way, is how I pay the mortgage. Grass too tall in a few spots because I hadn't even gotten the mower out yet. Every item carried a $200 per day fine. $1 I'll earn $400 daily starting immediately. 5 days to comply or we file legal action. I just stared at it, then called Holden. He answered on the second ring. Checked into Meadowbrook HOA. Nothing in the official record, he said. No state filings, no registration, no legal standing. It's vapor, total fraud, textbook extortion. Don't pay a cent. His voice got sharper. Virginia's one-party consent, so if they show up in person, record everything. Keep every notice. Timestamp it all. They want a paper trail, give them a rope long enough to hang themselves. So I made a folder on my laptop. HA harassment evidence. Scanned everything, backed it up, filed the originals in a binder. If Claudia and her crew wanted to play games, fine, I was going to be the best documentarian they'd ever met. Didn't take long for them to make their next move. I was outside patching some rot on the sidewall when I heard car doors slam. 3 of them strutting up my walk like they were the law. Claudia in front, early 50s. Hair so tight you'd swear she had a headache, that same brittle smile glued to her face. Behind her, a guy in his 40s with a clipboard and a younger woman with an expensive camera hanging from her neck. She didn't even knock. "Mr. Ramsey, I'm Claudia Thornhill, president of Meadowbrook HOA. This is EMTT Grayson and Iris Pendleton. We sent you a notice, you haven't responded. Her tone like I was late for detention. I set my hammer down and quietly as I could started my phone's recorder and slipped it into my shirt pocket. I received your notice. Also verified with the county that my property isn't part of any HOA. The deed's clean. I kept it cool, but my hands were shaking just a little. She just smiled wider, which somehow made everything worse. The county made an error. We've had jurisdiction since 2019. Now we're here to document your violations. Clipboard guy stepped up and the woman started snapping photos like paparazzi at a movie premiere. I moved to block them. This is private property. You don't have permission to be here. We have authorization under HOA bylaws to conduct compliance inspections. Claudia said, voice dropping a notch colder. Refusal to cooperate will be added to your violation list. I stepped right in her space, voice sharp. Show me one legal document proving you have any authority over this property. She hesitated, eyes narrowed like she was recalculating. You'll receive all necessary documentation, she said at last. Right now, we're doing our job. The woman with the camera tried to step past me. I blocked her path. I'm telling you for the last time, I said, leave my property or I'm calling the sheriff. That word landed hard. Claudia's team glanced at her. She gave them a nod. Her smile flickered, but she doubled down, leaned in so close I could see every line on her face. Mr. Ramsey, we have attorneys. We have a board. We have resources. You're one man with a property you can't afford to lose. Fighting us is the worst decision you could make. Then she led her little parade back to the car, a black sedan, same one that'd been tailing me. She fired up the engine, called out 3 days. Then this gets ugly and they rolled off. My hands were shaking, but I got the whole thing on tape. 12 minutes of threats, lies, pure intimidation. Sent the recording straight to Holden, who called me back in 5 minutes, sounding dead serious. That's criminal extortion, Beckett. You've got gold. Keep documenting. Next time, get plates, faces, everything. Don't engage. Let them make the next move. Sleep that night. Forget it. I dug into property records hunting for Claudia's name. Found it 4 houses in the area, bought and sold over 3 years, each one the same story. Owners sold below market, listing notes mentioning HOA complications. Every property bought through an LLC called Meadowbrook Properties, then flipped for $200,000 to $400,000 profit inside a year. 4 families pushed out. Over $1 million in profit for Claudia's LLC. I sat there in the blue glow of my laptop, cold with realization. This wasn't just some busybody with a clipboard, this was organized fraud. She used the fake HOA to hound homeowners, scare them into selling cheap, then scooped up their houses and flipped them for profit. And now I was her next target. I texted Holden. It's a land grab scheme. 4 confirmed victims. She's made over $1 million. He answered in seconds. Build your case, every detail. So I did. Laid out each fact, every document, dates, patterns, supporting records. If Claudia wanted a fight, well, she was about to get the most thoroughly documented resistance in county history. That week, her crew showed up 3 more times. Monday at 7, hadn't even finished my coffee. Wednesday as I was fitting new trim. Friday at dusk, right as I was packing up my tools. Every time a new list of violations flower bed wasn't aligned with property lines, mailbox post, needed repainting oak tree branch over the fence. They circled the property, taking pictures, calling out fake violations, scribbling notes. Me, I kept my phone ready, thumb hovering over record. The 3rd visit, Claudia brought a stack of bright yellow flyers, posted them all up and down the road. This property is in violation of community standards. No address, but everyone knew it was my place. I took photos, pulled them down, logged everything. 2 days later, they were back up. This time I left them, let her keep building evidence against herself. Then the online attack started. Someone posted in the neighborhood Facebook group about the old farmhouse refusing to comply with standards, bringing down property values. No name, but everyone knew. The comments rolled in, some folks defending the HOA, others defending historic preservation. I kept my mouth shut, just took screenshots, time-stamped everything, added it to the file. That's when my neighbors started treating me different. The family a quarter mile down the road used to wave every time they passed, now looked away, wouldn't meet my eye. Folks at the new house with the solar panels never saw their garage door open again. I got it, word had spread. I was the troublemaker now fighting the HOA. But Claudia made a mistake she didn't count on. Mrs. Blackwood, she lived in the other old farmhouse at the bend in the road, 74, widowed, sharp as a tack. She'd seen the neighborhood change over 5 decades, seen good families run off. She showed up at my door one evening with a plate of cookies and a look that meant business. "We need to talk," she said. Sitting at my kitchen table, hands folded. She laid it out. Lawson family 2019. Same routine, fake violations, threats, fines. The Lawsons fought for 6 months, lost sleep, lost jobs, finally sold and moved out. Claudia bought the property through Meadowbrook Properties, flipped it, pocketed $400,000. Son Mrs. Blackwood said, "This isn't about rules, it's about money. Your land's worth a fortune and she wants it cheap." I showed her my research dates. Prices every public record I'd found. She went pale. That's more proof than anyone's ever had. I asked how many families. 4 for sure, maybe more. She ticked off stories, a widow, a young couple all run out by the same scam. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "Fight," I said. "But I need more evidence. Think any victims would talk." The Lawsons would. I keep in touch. They'd love to see Claudia pay. After she left, I made a list. Victims, witnesses, evidence. Then I called Holden. Draft a civil complaint, fraud, extortion, emotional distress, maybe RICO. He actually laughed. "You're going nuclear, Beckett." "I like it. Someone's got to stop her." The next morning, police showed up, 2 county officers looking awkward. "Received a report of building code violations, sir." HOA called it in. I showed them my permit, my approvals, everything. They looked it over. "Everything's in order. We'll make a note if this keeps up. It's abuse of emergency services." I watched them drive off and saw the black sedan parked at the end of my drive. Claudia, smiling, rolled down the window. "You've got 2 weeks left, Mr. Ramsey, then we file the lien. After that, we foreclose. Hope that old house is worth the fight." I snapped a photo of her license plate, saved the threat to my mental archive, and went inside to log it all. Then I started calling victims Lawsons first. Time to get the whole story. And I'll tell you this, I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore. I turned my spare bedroom into a war room. Whiteboard up on the wall. Red lines connecting dates and names. Claudia's property buys profit margins, every victim I could trace. Binder folders lined the desk labeled recordings, photos, property records, witness statements. My laptop stayed open with automatic cloud backup running 24/7. If Claudia wanted to play hardball, she was about to meet her match in obsessive documentation. Holden helped me map out a strategy. 5 steps, he said on the phone. 1, document every interaction. 2, gather victim testimony. 3, compile legal proof the HOA is fake. 4, expose them publicly. 5, file suit with criminal referral. I wrote them on the whiteboard in block letters. "You need evidence so solid they can't wriggle out," Holden said. "Get them on tape admitting they want your property. That's your smoking gun. That connects harassment to profit motive." I bought 4 motion-activated cameras, front door, back door, gate barn. Tested the angles, crystal clear, even at night. $800 well spent. Every approach to my property, every drive-by now got stamped and sent straight to my phone and the cloud. Next, I called the Lawsons. Everett answered, voice cautious. "Mrs. Blackwood said you might call. You fighting Claudia too, I told him everything. Fake violations, threats, recordings." He let out a long sigh. "That's what she did to us. Daily fines, public shaming threats. We fought for 6 months. My wife had a breakdown. Sold for $600,000. Place was worth $750,000. Claudia bought it, flipped it for $900,000 a year later. Would you give a statement? Testify if needed." Long pause, then absolutely. "We want justice. We've waited years." Winifred Moss, the widow, had moved to assisted living. Her daughter was skeptical at first, but after I explained, she put her mother on the line. Winifred's voice was thin, tired. That woman terrorized me. I was 75 alone. She made me afraid in my own home. I sold for $200,000 less just to escape. She choked up. I'll tell anyone who will listen. The young couple had moved out of state. I sent a careful email. They replied that evening, "We'll do whatever you need." Claudia destroyed our dream first house. Newlyweds became a nightmare. It took 3 years to recover. I started compiling all of it. Financial losses. Claudia's purchase through Meadowbrook Properties, LLC. Each flip, each victim's story. The spreadsheet made it clear this wasn't isolated harassment. This was systematic fraud. Total profit, $1.2 million confirmed. 4 families' lives upended. I sent the summary to Holden, who called me over video. This is prosecutable RICO territory if we can prove coordination with her cronies. Now you just need her offering to buy your place on tape connects the harassment to her pocketbook. So I called the number from the flyer, Meadowbrook HOA. "How can I help you?" A woman answered. "This is Beckett Ramsey. I need to speak with Claudia Thornhill. Hold music." Then Claudia's voice, as warm and sugary as poison. "Mr. Ramsey, ready to discuss compliance." "I want to discuss options," I said, phone quietly recording. "This is causing me stress. Maybe there's a way to resolve it." Her tone shifted, cozy, friendly. "I'm glad you're being reasonable. What did you have in mind? What would it take to make this go away?" She didn't even blink. "Compliance would require significant investment, paint, fence, landscaping, maybe $50,000 in improvements. Or we have investment partners interested in properties like yours. If you wanted to sell, we could facilitate. Quick close, no realtor fees. Much less stressful." "What kind of offer?" "Your property's worth about $850,000. Given violations and repairs, we could offer $700,000 cash. 30 days, you walk away, no legal troubles." 150 grand below value, her exact pattern. I played along. "Let me think about it." She replied, "Of course. But Mr. Ramsey, the offer expires when we file the lien. After that, your options are limited." I hung up, heart pounding. Uploaded the recording, shot it straight to Holden. He called back, excitement in his voice. "That's it. She just confessed to extortion on tape. We've got her." I looked at the whiteboard. All the pieces were there. Recordings, testimony, financial records, a taped confession. The case was built. Now I needed to make sure Claudia couldn't do this to anyone else. It was time to go public. I searched for investigative reporters, found one who specialized in consumer fraud, Delaney Harper. Sent her a package, fake HOA extorting homeowners for $1 million land grab. Evidence attached. Within 2 hours, my phone rang. "Mr. Ramsey, this is Delaney Harper, Channel 12. What you sent me, this is one of the best organized evidence packs I've seen from a civilian. Can we meet?" We met halfway between my house and her newsroom coffee shop, Neutral Turf. She was late 30s, quick, sharp eyes, already recording before I finished my coffee. I laid it all out, printouts, transcripts, property records, victim statements, financial analysis. She spent 20 minutes reading, pen scribbling furiously, eyes getting wider with every page. "This is huge," she said finally. "Not just harassment, organized real estate fraud. How many victims?" "4 I can prove, maybe more. And you have them willing to go on camera." 3. The 4th is elderly, but her daughter might. Delaney tapped her pen. "I want to do a full investigative segment. Interview you, the victims confront Claudia. But can you hold legal action until it airs? My lawyer already drafted a civil complaint, but yes, I'll wait. Public exposure first, then the lawsuit. I want her operation dead before she can hide." She grinned, battle mode. Smart. That phone call where she offers to buy your property while threatening a lien, that's the story's heart. "Can I have the audio?" I sent it to her phone. She listened, expression going from cool professional to barely concealed outrage. "She sounds so reasonable, like she's helping you out while she's literally extorting you. Most people wouldn't know how to fight back." We mapped out a plan. She wanted to film at my property, show the house the so-called violations, prove it was all a setup. Then interview the other victims. "One more thing," she said, smiling with real edge. "I want to ambush Claudia. Her office is a UPS mailbox, right?" I nodded. "Perfect. We'll get that on camera. And then we'll doorstep her at home. She won't be able to run from this." The next few days crawled by. I worked on the house, checked the cameras, half expecting Claudia's crew to show up, but they vanished too quiet. I kept an eye on every angle, checked my recordings twice a day. Day before filming, I got an email from Claudia's supposed attorney, pay $28,000 or we file the lien in 48 hours. I shot it to Holden. Bluff, he said. She can't file a lien. More evidence for the file. Ignore her. Filming day arrived. Delaney rolled up with her crew cameras, mics, the works. They filmed my house light on the wide plank floors, the old barn, the original picket fence. She interviewed me on the porch farmhouse in the background, asked me about every step, the threats, the research, the tape. I answered honestly, letting the evidence do the talking. This is a 100-year-old family property, I said. I'm restoring it to honor my grandparents. No one has any right to force me out unless it's about money. They shot B-roll footage of my binder folders, stacks of evidence, my whiteboard war room. Delaney nodded, satisfied. We're interviewing the other victims next. Then we confront Claudia. That evening she texted, "We got powerful interviews. Lawson's story is heartbreaking. Winifred's daughter spoke for her. The young couple joined by video, they're still recovering. Only thing left, Claudia." I didn't sleep. I kept picturing Claudia's face when a news crew showed up. Would she crack or double down, go full Karen? Would she threaten Delaney on camera like she'd threatened me? At 7 the next morning, Delaney sent me a video, 30 seconds raw. Camera approaching a big house, expensive landscaping, 3-car garage. Delaney off camera, Ms. Thornhill. I'm Delaney Harper. NBC. Can we talk about allegations that Meadowbrook HOA is a fake organization used to extort homeowners? Front door swings open. Claudia, her face cycles from shock to anger to this tight, controlled mask. No comment, she snaps, tries to shut the door. Delaney fires questions. Are you the owner of Meadowbrook Properties? Have you made over $1 million by buying properties after harassing owners? Public records show you bought 4 homes after HOA complaints. Can you explain that? Did you threaten Mr. Ramsey with foreclosure while offering to buy his home? Claudia's voice goes shrill. This is private property. You're trespassing. Delaney, cool as ever. We're on a public sidewalk, ma'am. Get off my property, or I'm calling the police. Do you know extortion is a felony? Claudia slammed the door. The video ended. Delaney texted, she's panicking. This is gold. The segment aired that Thursday on the 6 o'clock news, 8 minutes of devastating journalism. Opened with shots of my farmhouse at golden hour. Delaney's voiceover walking viewers through the whole scam. Me on the porch showing binders talking about harassment. Victims telling their stories. Lawson's heartbreak. Winifred's fear, the young couple's ruined dream. Graphics flashing Claudia's flips, profit margins, dates. My recorded phone call, her voice friendly as a snake, offering $700,000 for my $850,000 property, and warning about the lien. And then the doorstop. Claudia's face as she realized the jig was up, the mask slipping. Delaney sign-off, Meadowbrook HOA is not registered, has no incorporation documents, no legal standing. If you've been targeted, contact us or authorities. This is Delaney Harper reporting. My phone exploded, texts, calls, messages. Neighbors apologized, saying they'd been told lies about me. Strangers offered support, shared the story, demanded justice. Mrs. Blackwood cried, saying she'd waited years for this. Holden called, laughing, DA's office wants your evidence. They're opening a criminal case. I sat on my porch, sunset, painting the fields, gold phone buzzing nonstop. And I realized the tide had finally turned. Claudia's world was burning down, and it wasn't just about me anymore. People saw the truth. The scam was finished. But the real battle that was still ahead, the legal fight, the aftermath, and what came next, well, let's just say things only got more interesting from there. The morning after the news segment aired, my phone was still buzzing. Support pouring in, neighbors reaching out, people who'd avoided me, now wanting to shake my hand. I barely slept. Just sat at the old kitchen table, watching light crawl up the walls, thinking about what came next. That's when Holden called with an idea that sounded insane at first. Beckett to fight a fake HOA, you could create a real one. I nearly spilled my coffee. Holden, I bought this place to avoid that stuff. He chuckled. I know, but hear me out. Under state law, residents can petition to form a real HOA with actual legal standing. If you get half the homeowners to sign on, you control the rules. You'd be president, set it up to prevent exactly this kind of scam. Minimal rules, no power games, just protection. Claudia couldn't ever try this again. I sat there thinking about it, the irony, the responsibility. Becoming the thing I'd always hated just to stop someone even worse. But maybe it wasn't about the label, it was about the people and the power to protect them. Mrs. Blackwood was my first call. Walked over, told her everything. She listened, fingers tapping on her teacup. A real HOA. Run by us, not by crooks. I like it. She offered to help me talk to neighbors, said there were plenty who'd been waiting for someone to stand up. So we called a meeting, set it for Sunday afternoon in my grandpa's old barn, now half workshop, half war room. I expected maybe a dozen people. 32 showed up, families, retirees, even some who'd crossed the street to avoid me the week before. Some faces I knew, most I didn't. But they'd all seen Claudia exposed on TV. They were angry, embarrassed, ready to do something. I stood by my grandpa's workbench, heart pounding. "I'm Beckett Ramsey," I said, "and if you saw the news, you know what happened to me. But I'm not the first. 4 families lost their homes because there was no organized community here to protect them. This isn't about controlling you or your property. This is about making sure no one can ever run a scam like Claudia's again." We hammered out the basics right there. Minimum rules. Annual dues, $100, just enough to file paperwork and throw a barbecue. No architectural review board, no violation fines, no aesthetic nonsense, just basic property maintenance and neighborly respect. Every household got a vote. Board positions would rotate every 2 years with term limits. We'd write it all down clear as day. Transparency, not tyranny. People spoke up, asked hard questions. "What stops this from becoming another Meadowbrook?" one guy asked. "We write the rules together tonight," I said. "They can't change without a vote. We make it what we want." A retired teacher volunteered to help draft bylaws. A lawyer on Willow Lane offered to review everything pro bono. By the time the meeting broke up, 28 people had signed the petition. 2 more signed on the way out. We needed 30. By the next morning, we had 36. Holden and I filed the incorporation papers that Wednesday. Articles of incorporation, bylaws, all stamped and filed with the state. Heritage Meadows Community Association, we picked the name to honor what was good, not to copy Claudia's junk. We held a board election. I was voted president. Mrs. Blackwood vice president. Everett Lawson, he'd driven back just for the meeting, treasurer. "I want to help make sure this never happens again," he said. The whole thing went official by Friday. We had standing. Claudia had none. The local press loved it. Residents formed legitimate HOA after fake one exposed. Delaney ran a follow-up. "Minimal rules, maximum respect," I told her on camera. "We're not trying to control anyone. We're protecting what matters." The mood in the neighborhood flipped. Folks who'd been hiding now showed up to potlucks, dropped off pies, offered to lend tools. People actually seemed relieved. Of course, Claudia didn't take it lying down. Her new lawyer sent a cease and desist, said we were using a confusingly similar name and interfering with her business. Holden laughed. "She just admitted it's a business, not a community organization. That helps our case." We sent back a polite letter reminding them Meadowbrook wasn't legally registered and had no standing. A week later, Claudia went nuclear, filed a personal lawsuit against me for defamation and tortious interference. 15 pages of half-truths and outright lies, claiming I'd ruined her reputation and sabotaged her business relationships. Holden read it and smiled for the first time in weeks. "She just admitted in writing it's all a business scheme. We're going to destroy her in court." I sat on my porch that night with Mrs. Blackwood, the lawsuit on my lap, a cold beer in hand. "She's not going to win, is she?" I asked. "Not a chance," she said. "You've got the truth, the community, and the law. All she's got is bluster." 6 weeks later, we went to trial. Courthouse built in 1968, bare concrete, big windows. Nothing fancy. I wore the one suit I owned. Holden met me on the steps, looking calm as ever. "Ready?" he asked. "I've been ready since the day she threatened to steal my home." Inside the gallery was full reporters, in the back victims on my side of the aisle, Claudia's team on the other. Claudia wore navy blue hair pulled back so tight she looked carved from granite. When our eyes met, she didn't blink. She was still playing power games right up until the judge walked in. Judge Harrison, 60-something, gray hair, reputation for no nonsense. He made it clear this was a combined hearing. Claudia's defamation suit versus my countersuit for fraud, extortion, emotional distress, and RICO. Winner takes all. Claudia's lawyer went first, painting me as some vengeful outsider out to ruin a legitimate community leader. Said I'd weaponized the media and manufactured outrage. He sounded smooth, but every word was hollow. Holden's turn was different, deliberate, patient. The evidence will show that Meadowbrook HOA does not legally exist. Ms. Thornhill used it to extort and defraud homeowners, forcing them to sell below value. Mr. Ramsey is the fifth victim, but he documented everything. I took the stand, walked through every detail, the flyer, the threats, the fake violations, the intimidation. Explained how it felt to be alone, to watch neighbors turn cold, to fear losing my home over lies. Holden played the recordings, showed the evidence. Claudia's lawyer tried to rattle me, but I just kept to the facts. Then came the victims. Everett testified, voice shaking but strong. They destroyed us. My wife had a breakdown. Our baby wouldn't sleep. We sold our dream just to escape. Winifred's daughter told the judge, voice tight. My mother sold because she was afraid. That's not negotiation. That's extortion. The young couple appeared via video, told the jury how their future was stolen before it began. An expert real estate attorney took the stand. Meadowbrook HOA has no legal status, no filings, no authority. Any threat or fine is void. A forensic accountant broke down Claudia's pattern: 4 properties, $1.2 million in profit, all purchased after fake HOA threats. And then the tape. My recorded phone call with Claudia offering to make it all go away if I sold for $150,000 below market value, warning me about the lien. Her voice calm as can be filled the courtroom. You walk away with profit and no legal trouble. But Mr. Ramsey, the offer expires when we file the lien. You could have heard a pin drop. Holden let the silence settle, then finished. That's extortion, Your Honor. That's her motive on tape. Claudia tried to defend herself. Said the HOA papers were in process, that the documents were lost, that she'd only been trying to help. Holden pressed her, can you provide a single legal document? They're being processed. For 5 years, she went silent. Isn't it true your goal was to buy properties below market value? That's not true. Then why did you offer to buy Mr. Ramsey's house while threatening him? She squirmed, tried to bluff. That was just negotiation. Negotiation means both parties have a choice. Yours was sell cheap or face a fake lien. That's not a choice. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. When they returned, the forewoman read, in the matter of Thornhill versus Ramsey, we find in favor of the defendant. In the matter of Ramsey's countersuit, we find Ms. Thornhill liable for fraud, extortion, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and RICO violations. Total damages $1.25 million. Every cent Claudia had squeezed from her victims, she was ordered to pay back. The judge barred her from ever working in real estate or any HOA activity again. Prosecutors were waiting to charge her with criminal counts as soon as she left the courtroom. Outside, I hugged Mrs. Blackwood and Everett's wife, shaking like I'd just come through a storm. Reporters wanted a statement. Document everything I said. Never fight alone. Justice is real, you just have to stand up for it. 3 months later, Claudia took a plea deal, 2 years in prison, restitution, banned from real estate for life. Her accomplices rolled on her, and every family got paid back. Winifred got a peaceful apartment. The Lawsons started over. The young couple bought a new home and sent me photos of their baby in the backyard. The farmhouse restoration finished up late that summer. I kept every original feature I could: plank floors, wavy glass brick fireplace, modern where it mattered but true to my grandparents' spirit. The barn became my shop, full of sawdust and the smell of something lasting. Heritage Meadows Community Association thrived: 43 households, quarterly potlucks, tool library in Mrs. Blackwood's garage, a neighborhood watch run on text chains, not threats. Local news even ran a story, residents prove HOAs can work for the people. Delaney interviewed me again. "You turned a nightmare into a model community," she said. "We just did what should have been done," I answered. "Minimal rules, maximum respect." The state legislature noticed passed an anti-fake HOA Act requiring real verification and punishing scams. I was there when the governor signed it. Thought of my grandpa's words, land doesn't belong to us. We belong to it. Our job is stewardship. Leave it better than we found it. Guess I finally understood what he meant. Life settled down. Legal aid groups started calling, asking for advice. I helped folks build their cases, reviewed evidence, pointed them to good lawyers. Podcasts invited me on, community centers asked me to speak. I didn't plan to become an advocate, but Mrs. Blackwood was right. Maybe I'd found my calling. A year after the verdict, I sat on the porch, coffee, warming my hands, watching the sunrise set the fields gold. Wildflowers from Grandma's old garden drifted in the breeze. The farmhouse was quiet, settled. I realized this wasn't just my story anymore. It was a warning, a promise, a call to action for anyone who'd ever been bullied, ever felt alone. You don't have to let them win. I opened my laptop, wrote a post for homeowners, how to fight back, tips from a guy who lived it. As the sun climbed higher, I smiled. This was home. Not just a house, not just land. Community justice purpose. And as long as I was standing, nobody was ever taking that away again. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I could almost hear Grandpa's voice saying, "That's how you do it, son. That's how you leave a mark."